name is Claudio. I've been practicing Ashtanga for about 13 years, and I teach yoga. So I also got a Mysore program, and apart from yoga, I also played basketball. I used to be a professional basketball player, so I keep doing that for fun now. I practice jiu-jitsu. I do training, and I'm a father and a partner as well.
Wow!
Yeah, and I make pizza.
My name's Candy. I've been practicing for 8 years now, Ashtanga, and I am currently also mothering Artemis here, which takes up a lot of my other time. But I'm a yoga teacher, and I teach studio classes, and I teach a mix of vinyasa, Ashtanga. I also, at the moment, teach a lot of corporate and private classes, or one-to-ones, because it works quite well with a little one to work in that way. And I'm really interested in a minute in women's health, specifically things like women's breathwork. I'm a breathwork coach, and specifically women's and pelvic floor, that kind of thing, pelvic floor rehabilitation, which obviously comes into play quite a lot, having children and doing yoga. So at the minute that's kind of my time taken up.
Yeah.
Well, Candy's also a doula, and she's a breathwork teacher, and she's a craniosacral therapist, and I'm a craniosacral therapist as well, and I'm also a sports massage. And we also do free diving. Well, we used to do free diving before the baby was born.
Yeah. So kind of like to hold our breath quite a bit.
I started Ashtanga. When I started yoga, I was introduced to Ashtanga yoga, but it wasn't the Ashtanga that we know. Then when I went to other classes that say they're the same title of Ashtanga, I soon found out that was a different style altogether. And but I liked it. Because it was a challenge. Kept on getting injured, so I kept on coming back.
As in, you kept on getting injuries in the practice, and it made you come back.
Yeah, just to understand it, to know why am I getting injured all the time. I always thought that the practice is a vehicle. I never blamed the practice. I always blame myself for the injuries. Well, it looks like a mess, I guess.
No, it doesn't. He's really good at that. You're really good at the minute.
I'm really good at the minute. That's what she says. Okay. It feels okay. It feels sustainable. That's the most important thing.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
So I feel like I came to Ashtanga really late in my yoga life, because I've been practicing yoga and actually teaching yoga for years, but mainly I started in Kundalini, went down that road a bit, and then Vinyasa, and I'd heard about Ashtanga, but I went to Mysore early on in my yoga life, let's say, and I maybe it was the teacher, but I didn't click and I didn't get the concept, and it felt too rigid or something, so I kind of didn't do it for years. And then people kept talking about Hamish, and I'd never met him. And then I met this guy, and he was assisting Hamish, and he said, "Why don't you come to the Shala and give it a try?" And I basically went there because I was also really fancied him. This was before we were dating. No, I went there for the yoga, obviously, but it's nice to see you there.
Because of me. It's the answer of the question.
I went to Shala, and I basically went back every day since then. I think I really connected with the way Hamish teaches the Mysore, and maybe it's that I was mature enough to understand the concept. I'm not sure whether it was the teacher or that I was just ready in my life to have quite a dedicated practice, and one that requires quite a lot of discipline. But I love it because I like discipline. I quite like structure, But mainly I found it just did good things for my body. I found it was strengthening me in ways that other practices I'd done hadn't. But also mentally it was kind of grounding me into something. My current practice right now is good, and I feel like since having a child, it's been really, really up and down, but it's also been so much more important than I ever thought a practice could be in terms of mentally. Physically, it's been a shit show. As in, I've never been more injured this year than ever, which is not a great thing, but right now I'm not, and I feel good. So it's been like a learning thing as well. And for me, it's been a real balance of, naturally there's that drive to get back to your practice pre-pregnancy, pre-birth. But also your life's different. And so whether your body is or isn't different, and your body is different, but your life's different. And as I said, it's like things that don't usually take your energy. And so it's just been a real balance and a lot of learning. So yeah, currently practice is good. It feels like I've got to a point where it's quite sustainable. Yeah, let's hope it stays that way.
I think, it's not just one obstacle, there's always been like a few of them. So at the beginning of the practice, I really got into it and I dropped everything else I was doing. So I dropped basketball, I dropped the training, I dropped whatever else. And so I could really dedicate myself. And I think that's the initial, honeymoon period where all your days in preparation for the practice, you almost, everything you eat and stuff. And then fortunately that crazy period is finished, stopped years ago. But then when I started reintroducing things like training or, different jobs and different exercises that I was doing, my practice stopped for a while. Well, it didn't stop, I continued, but I would more likely get injured, more likely to, go a few steps back. And I think all these things have been, teachers for me, because I had to learn how to make way for my Ashtanga practice as well as other things in my life. So when I finished the second series, I stopped there for a long while, for about 7 years, without getting new postures, because I was putting in so many other different trainings that my yoga practice didn't progress in terms of like getting new postures. Although the progress were that I could have my practice, use it as a tool for my mental health and my physical health, and do all the other things around. So it's difficult because you think you come something just because are you getting new postures. I think if your practice is stuck somewhere, but it's sustainable. I mean, sustainable for me means that you're doing the right thing. It's quite a convoluted way to describe this, but yeah.
No, I understand. And what I'm hearing is, from one extreme to the other, it's about kind of integrating yoga into your life.
Yeah.
First of all, it became like, I don't know if you said this way, but almost obsessive.
Yeah.
And it kind of eclipsed everything else in your life. And then when you reintegrated other things, quotation marks, progress didn't happen, some of the things, but the conclusion is basically that sustainability is success.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Whether you decide to, dedicate more time to practice and your body's ready for new postures, I think as long as your practice is sustainable and you can use it as a tool for doing everything else in your life that you want to do, I think you're on the right path.
So I kind of second a lot what Claudio said in that definitely at the beginning there's that kind of get a bit obsessed with it. Which I definitely did. I think that's a very natural thing for a lot of people though. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's something that is going to hopefully have its time. Because for me, once you get over that bit, the practice really gets so much deeper when you stop chasing it and you stop kind of orientating your day to, oh, I've got to eat at this time and you know, it's just like once you can actually let go of that and just realize that the practice is going to be there in whatever shape it's going to be, and it's so much more integratable, and I think you just go into a slightly deeper meaning of why you're doing it. That's really come into play as of the last 2 years having a kid, because it just kind of changes everything. And I think my biggest challenge, like currently, which is time, I suppose, and sleep. Like, you know, Ashtangi's like, and me, I'm a morning person. I like to get up and do my practice super early, and you know, that's just something you can't do always with a kid. Or it's a real juggle and a balance, especially because we're both yoga teachers, so we also work in the morning, so it's not like, yeah, he's asleep and I can leave the baby with him and go off to the Charlotte. So it is a juggle, and for me that's something that I do find difficult, because it's really important for me to have that kind of space in the morning. But the lesson, I think, is that, well, sometimes that space isn't mine and I just kind of have to share it and or let it go a little bit. Also just to sort of slow down a little bit, and rest is good. Just making sure that you always take a really long shavasana, or as long as you can. Like slow down in the finishing series instead of like rushing through, that kind of stuff. I suppose a thing I'm sort of also challenging at the moment is I'm at a point in my practice where, from my teacher anyway, I can't get any more postures, which is sort of nice in that I'm like, well, I might just be here for the rest of my life, and that would be great as long as I can sustain it. But then there's that other bit of, I suppose, a curiosity for just certain other things as well. So I wouldn't say that's a challenge, but it's just a particular feeling or a question of like, is this really about postures and series and how far you go, or is it more like, you know, I could be here and be really content with it? Like, totally what Claudio said, at the minute it's just like keeping things sustainable is the most important thing. It's the most useful thing.
Well, I think, you know, my yoga practice made it clear that it was about listening rather than you know, having your way with things. So the listening is great in families. You know, it's great with your family. It's great because you learn a lot of things about yourself. You notice things about yourself that you might have, you know, picked up from your parents or from traumas in life and stuff like that, and you're able to see those things rather than to turn a blind eye to them. And when you see those things, you are able to also make amends with your partner and with your children, I think. So in that way, yoga helped me a lot about getting to know myself, and also to be more open and more compassionate to others in general, and to different ways of doing things.
Yeah, just as you're speaking, what came to mind is there's like only so far you can go by pushing.
Yeah.
You know, there's only so far you can get by forcing your way through a situation, and it kind of relates to what you're saying as well. Ultimately, you have to just let go and let things develop on their own.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about yoga is you're balancing between this force and letting go constantly.
Yeah. And it's quite funny, like students often ask me, like, they get on the mat and they say, oh, what should I practice today? You know, say they've got more sequences and stuff. Should I practice this or that? And, you know, obviously I encourage them to, you know, really feel what they want to do. But as for me, every time that I'm getting on the mat, I haven't decided what I'm going to practice yet. I get on the mat, and the only reminder that I have for myself is like, okay, you're just gonna listen. You're just gonna breathe and listen and see what's going on there, and then whatever, you know, evolves from there. That's my practice. But I don't try to have an agenda and force it. That used to be the case, and didn't find it worked well for my body. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how people do it without practice. I don't know how they do it. Like, not necessarily have to be Ashtanga, but a practice that grounds you physically and mentally. Like, that's just, I don't know, I feel like it's so important. It's been so important for me. And I think yoga is a brilliant practice. You know, physically, it's good on the body, but mentally, just that, balance of strength, but openness, which is really important. I mean, I even felt that with pregnancy and labour. Now, when I was pregnant, I kept practicing. It looked nothing like Ashtanga. I was doing things that felt good in my body. I went totally off the sequence. I kept like a foundation of the sun salutations and the standing, but you know, it's those lessons of strength, like exactly what Claude said. You get to a point where pushing doesn't work anymore. There has to be an opening as well.
That's what he said.
Huh? Is that what you said? Yeah.
Well, I was kind of summarising what Claudio said.
We all on the same page.
I think it comes into play in all those things. I mean, giving birth, my God, like if you can be aware of your breath, and you know, that's a perfect example of you need so much strength, but if you can't open, you can't open. So you have to balance those two so much. And I just think that all of that has been so helpful. Like, it's just so much letting go in parenting. It's just a constant letting go, but you also need to stand your ground on certain things, and you have to, hold on to things that you feel are really good for you. So I do think a lot of people, like, they just stop practicing once they have a kid because of the time thing. It's hard. I've been quite, like, militant in that, not militant in my practice, but in that I get that space, because it's like everything else is going to go in a way. But I also know how good it is for me mentally to be able to have that. I think everyone with children, family should practice, even if it's something else that it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be Ashtanga, but just something that's yours, something where you can still tune in with your body, you can listen, and you can learn to respond instead of react to what you're hearing.
Yeah, make it look easy.
What?
Make it look easy.
What do you mean?
Well, that you need to pretend it's easy.
Get a really good poker face.
It's all about pretending, you know. No, I say that with a joke, but it's also like true, because I think if you're doing something that is really hard and you try to make it look easy, that means that you're working on your breath and on your nervous system, and that means that you are getting in touch with, you know, deeper layers of yourself, and there is more introspection. So if you really try to make it about the breath, obviously, you know, makes it a lot easier. So yeah, if you can do like a Janshishasana pose and just be like this. Or you can, can try to really put your poker face. It hurts the same, but you just like, calming your breath down and really trying to be cool while you do it. So that helps a lot, I think, and more in general, to do much less effort. Like you don't have to try too much. Just really take it easy. It's a very long road. So don't try to be greedy on postures and things just because they look cool or whatever. They will come with time, especially if you let go of that agenda of doing those things.
I think Ashtanga's got a really bad reputation for being a very tough practice, being very rigid, hard adjustments. I'd say find a good teacher. I think that's the thing I'd say firstly to a beginner. Just find a really good teacher that you feel is able to listen to you and not trying to fit you into some shape or tell anything too dogmatic. For me, in my opinion, is probably not going to be that sustainable for most people. So find a good teacher, someone that you can trust.
You can be safe.
And that you can be safe with. And I think it's very natural to go through a kind of grabbing stage or a chasing. I think that's just human nature. We kind of do that, and so I don't think that's a bad thing. But I'd say just observe it. Just keep listening to yourself, and you might notice that you're grabbing, and that's okay. But notice that you are, and see if you can always keep a bigger perspective on what's going on around your practice and around your life in general. Yeah. Hey. Yeah, that's what I'd mainly say.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.